A symphony for shaving, brought to you by thick, rich Gillette Foamy. Lay it on thick. It's smooth going when you shave. Clean, close, smooth. Gillette Foamy. Get into the thick of it.
Fred Lynn of the Boston Red Sox. You're looking good, Fred. You must know a lot about fashion, right?
Wrong. This is what I know. Botany 500. When I wear a Botany 500 suit, I feel great. And my wife, Dee Dee, tells me I look good, too. So after the game, I climb into my Botany 500 and head for the country.
Because you can wear a Botany 500 anywhere.
Except on the playing field.
Botany 500. The first thing to look for in a suit.
You do more than one kind of riding.
That's why you need more than one sort of flair. Now, there's me, hard head flair.
And me, regular flair.
Here's my point, super hard plastic. For a fine ball pen kind of line. In vivid flare colors. I even make carbon.
Here's my point, a flexible nylon tip for the expressiveness you need to set your riding free.
Hard head flair.
Regular flair. Now flair gives you both.
For all kinds of riding.
Shouting.
Reporting.
Doodling.
Carboning.
Drawing.
Figuring. And, you know.
There you see the Oriole dugout, number 29, Ken Singleton, and the closest man to your screen, Bobby Gritch, who just took a peek over here. Singleton smiling now. And now, let's take a look at the league-leading Kansas City Royals, managed by Darrell, Norman, Whitey Herzog, as they introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm Whitey Herzog, the manager, and I live in Independence, Missouri.
My name's Jim Wolford. I play left field from Visalia, California.
My name's Otis, center fielder. I live in Toronto, Canada. George Brett, third base, El Segundo, California. Al McRae, the hitter, Avon Park, Florida.
John Mayberry, first base, Motown, Detroit.
Al Collins, right field, Los Angeles, California.
Frank White, second base, Kansas City, Missouri.
Fred Potek, the shortstop. I'm from Seguin, Texas.
Buck Martinez, catcher from Sacramento, California.
Andy Hassler, pitcher, Phoenix, Arizona.
Is 19 in a row.
You know, that's something that I didn't particularly care for. I think the most I ever lost was 8 games in a row, and I felt like I just didn't want to go out to the ballpark. Steve Carlton, in 1 year, lost 19 ball games, and he just didn't want to go out there and pitch anymore after that. We had something like 2 or 3 games left in the season, and he was supposed to start. He didn't want to pitch. He finally did pitch the last day of the season, and he lost his 20th. So it's something that you don't look forward to.
So he didn't want to go out to the mound and take a chance of losing that 20th ball game. And here's Andy Hassler, who lost 18 in a row. He's now come back to win 4 in a row. He was traded from the Angels to Kansas City after he was 0-6. There you see Dave Duncan, the traveled catcher. He's played with Cleveland, he's played with Oakland, and now with Baltimore. Defensively, for Baltimore, Singleton in left field. And Paul Blair will be in center field tonight. He hasn't been used that much because he hasn't been hitting this year. Reggie Jackson in right field, and of course, we saw the story of Reggie, booed here in Baltimore. In the infield tonight, Doug DeCinze, the heir apparent, of course, and now has taken over for Brooks Robinson at third base. Shortstop, Mark Belanger, who finally made the All-Star team after 13 years in the major leagues. Bobby Gritch, former quarterback, could have played for UCLA at second base for the Orioles tonight. And at first base, Lee May, a gentleman you faced, Bob Gibson, many times in the National League. And there you see behind the plate, Dave Duncan. When you faced Lee May, there you see the starting pitcher, Rudy May, no relation to Lee May. Lee May played for Cincinnati and Houston when you faced him.
Right. He started off with Cincinnati, went to Houston, and to be truthful, we were really happy that he got traded out of the league because that guy was a problem.
Lee May. Rudy May, no relation. Rudy May now in his 9th year, of course, started the season with the Yankees, came over in that 10-player deal involving Holtzman, Martinez, Pagan, Jackson, Hendricks. He's 10-9 now. He's 6-6 with Baltimore. In his last start, he beat Oakland 9-4 last Wednesday. However, he's only 3-7 lifetime against Kansas City. Bob, when you had a lifetime record against a club, I've always wondered about this. How important is a lifetime record in that the club changes over the years? And really, is that a significant statistic in baseball?
I don't think it means anything. Like you said before, you go out there and you face a different ball club just about every year. For some reason or another, if you have a so-called hex over one ball club, it seems like it stays there. You can throw your glove out and still beat the ball club. But as far as the statistics are concerned, I just don't believe in them.
All right, what about Rudy May? How would you describe Rudy May as a pitcher?
Well, Rudy used to be an extremely hard thrower. But, of course, you know, like every other pitcher, after a few years in the league, you stop trying to throw the ball by hitters and you start learning how to pitch. Rudy May is basically a breaking ball pitcher. He moves the ball around. He keeps the ball down, and that's the only way you can win here.
Rudy May from Coffeyville, Kansas. The first batter for Kansas City, Jim Wolford. Now, this is Wolford's 5th year, and he's playing a little more this season than he has before. He's hitting a .226. He platoons in left field with Tom Poquette. And the first pitch of the game is outside for a ball. The umpires tonight, Joe Brinkman behind the plate, Greg Kosk at first, Nestor Shylock, the veteran, at second, and Jim Evans at third. The 1-ball pitch to Wolford. Popped him up. Rich and Belanger take your turn. Belanger takes it, and there's 1 down. So Wolford pops to Belanger, and that'll bring up Amos Otis. Now watch Amos Otis. He will completely obliterate the batter's box. He will completely wipe out the chalk. Now watch this. A habit of Otis. He'll begin with the side. There he goes. Wipes out the back. He'll take care of it. And if I'm the groundskeeper, I've got to say, what did I go to all this trouble for in putting in a batter's box for Otis to wipe it out?
If I'd have been pitching, it might have made me a little mad there, too. I don't know why he goes through all that stuff, but he does it. Guess there's nothing to do about it.
Otis having a good season, .294, leads the league in doubles, 74 runs batted in. Amos Otis. And he hits well against Baltimore. He's 12 for 34 this year against the Orioles. That's a .352 average. And that'll be a base hit up the middle as Amos Otis continues to hit Baltimore pitching. He's now 13 for 35. And talk about a guy who hits well against Baltimore. Here he is, George Brett. Brett this year in the 9 games between the Orioles and Royals. Brett has 17 hits in 35 times at bat. That's a .485 average. George Brett.
You know, there's a difference between the American League and the National League. In the National League, he'd be laying on his back a few times.
You think they throw at him more, huh?
Oh, a little bit.
And that's the first strike of the ball game by Rudy May.
Got Amos Otis on first over there, and he likes to run. And one time they had said that he was a better base stealer than Lou Brock. I think I'd have to see that first to believe it.
I think a lot of people would dispute that. Otis has 24 out of 29 stolen bases. Could be a double play. Gritch, Belanger, no throw. So Brett on the field is choice. 4 to 6 if you're scoring. Otis forced at second. 2 down. Brett on first. And that will bring up the Major League's leading hitter, number 11, Harold Abraham McRae. Hal McRae hitting at .355. Now, Bob Gibson, here's another fellow you faced in the National League.
Yeah, he was always a good hitter. Of course, Cincinnati gave him up, but they always have the knack of coming up with another good ball player, so they really don't miss him, even though he leads the league.
You know, as amazing as it sounds, as Brett takes a short lead off first, you would have to actually wonder where would Hal McRae play on today's Cincinnati ball club.
Well, I guarantee you, when you have a guy that can hit like that, they'll find somewhere to put him.
But who would you bench?
Well, some of the guys probably never would have came into their own like Greason.
There goes Brett as McRae fouls off the pitch. Brett has stolen 17 out of 26 attempts this year. Now, McRae cannot run well. He pulled a muscle on the 15th of July against Boston, running the bases. And he has limped down the first for a month, and he runs a little better now, but he has a pulled muscle, as most muscular players do. That's the trouble when you're muscle bound. You're going to pull those muscles sooner or later. The 1-1 pitch to McRae. What about you, Gibby, as a pitcher? Did you pull many muscles?
Yeah, I don't think it had any, or however many. Your muscles get tired. Get tired of having a chance of pulling a muscle.
Lee May holding Brett at first. The pitch to McRae. 2-2 to Hal McRae. This is McRae's 8th year in the majors. First 4 with Cincinnati. Came over to Kansas City in the deal for Wayne Simpson, for Roger Nelson and Richie Scheinblum. Remember Richie Scheinblum? Was a good AAA ball player, but really never hit as well in the major leagues.
Well, we never had any problem with him when he came over from Cincinnati because they didn't let him play.
2-2 to McRae. Left field, Singleton coming in. And that's it for Kansas City. So the Royals go down in the first inning. No runs, 1 hit, no Baltimore areas, and 1 runner stranded. With Baltimore coming to bat on the home first, Kansas City, nothing.
You like garage sales because you can find such great buys? Then you'll really like the biggest garage sale of them all. Your Chevy dealer's annual garage sale. So if you've been waiting for the best time to buy a 76 model, this is it. You'll likely get some of the best deals you can get on some of the best cars and trucks you can get. Chevrolets. You like that idea? Chevy thought you would. So come on down to your Chevy dealer's garage sale now.
Let's get ready to blow her.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now comes Miller time. It takes as much skill to bring down a building as it does to put one up. And now's the time for the best tasting beer you can find. Miller High Life.
If you've got the time, we've got the beer.
Here's what you made room for.
Miller Beer.
And now the Baltimore batting order as they introduce themselves, and first, manager Earl Weaver.
Born in St. Louis and now reside in Baltimore, Maryland.
Tommy Harper, designated hitter, Boston, Massachusetts. Bob Gritz, second base, Long Beach, California. Reginald Jackson, right field, Oakland, California. Lee May, first baseman, Birmingham, Alabama.
Ken Singleton, left field, Ile-Bizarre, Quebec.
Doug DeSense, third base, Valencia, California.
Mark Belanger, shortstop, Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Paul Blair, outfield in Los Angeles, California.
Dave Duncan, catcher, Dallas, Texas.
All right, the first Baltimore batter, the designated hitter, Tommy Harper, who's been around 35 years old. This is Harper's 15th year in the major leagues. He's only played 38 games and hitting a .203. I guess you faced Tommy Harper, too, Gib.
He's another one of those guys that played at Cincinnati. They seem to come up with some pretty good ball players.
I think that's a tribute to the scouting system and the farm system.
That's for sure. You know, and if they didn't come up with a good ball player, they'd go out and buy one. So they have a pretty good system working over there.
Andy Hassler. He'll be 25 years old in October. And what a turnaround he has made. In case you have not followed the career of Hassler, he came up with the Angels in '71, and through '73 he was 0-7. He finally found himself in '74 and finished 7-11. 2-2 to Harper. He finished with a 2.61 earned run average and was looked upon as the Angels' certainly top 3 starters. In 75, he won his first 3 out of 4, and then the roof fell in. 2-2 to Harper. Inside, almost hit him. Hassler proceeded to lose 11 straight. He finished 3-12. Bobby Gritch on deck. The start of the season, Hassler lost his first 6. He lost 17 in a row over 2 seasons. The Angels traded him. 3-2 to Harper. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Here's a perfect example right there of the difference in the American League and the National League. You know, they talk about players that better ball players, but the players aren't any better. He threw a 3-2 curveball. In the National League, he could almost be assured of a 3-2 fastball.
Bobby Gritch hitting a .274 this season. This is Gritch's 5th year as a regular. Remember, he moved Davey Johnson out of second base. Continuing the story with Hassler, after he was traded to Kansas City, he lost his first game. To make it 18 straight games, lost, 1 shy of the record. He's now won 4 in a row. Right center, Cowens has it in range. 2 down. Al Cowens, the right fielder for Kansas City. Now listen to the greeting for Reggie Jackson.
Well, it seems to me that those fans that booed him the other day is not here tonight.
Kind of a mixed review. Reggie Jackson, now in his 10th year.
Reggie loves it. He says if they boo me, at least they're paying attention to me.
2 outs in the Oriole first, no score. That'll be a base hit to left field, dropping in front of Wolford. So Jackson singles to left field, and that'll bring up the Orioles' #1 home run and RBI man, Lee May. Lee May, not much with the average this year at .239, but again, 23 homers and 84 runs batted in. He's 1 behind Bando in home runs and 1 behind Chambliss in runs batted in for the American League lead.
You know, you talk about a hitter's effectiveness. When a guy only hits .234 or what have you, and he drives in 80 runs, and he must be some kind of hitter.
Jackson has stolen 19 out of 25, and there he goes. He is in there with a stolen base. Reggie Jackson.
There he goes. He got a real good jump on the pitcher. Of course, you think Reggie didn't know this was national television? That's why he took off.
That's 20 out of 27 for Reggie Jackson, and of course now in scoring position with 2 outs and the 1-ball pitch to Lee May. No score. The Orioles batting in the bottom of the first. Kansas City and Baltimore. Kansas City with an 8-game lead over Oakland. Oakland plays later tonight against New York. Hassler looking in for the sign from Martinez. The 1-ball pitch. Let me ask you something, Gibby. When you faced Lee May, did the waving of the bat distract you at all? Was it hard to keep your concentration?
No, that doesn't bother you at all because you should be watching the catcher. Some pitchers do use the hitter as a strike zone also, but you watch the catcher. You pay very little attention to that bat.
He looks like an overhand Vic Power when he does it. Vic Power used to do an underhand. See that? Wave that back. 1-1 to Lee.
You know, a while ago you were talking about Lee May driving in 80-some runs. Well, Reggie Jackson still in second base like that is the very reason why he does have all these runs. These guys get out there and get on second base, and then that's when he gets his hits.
One ball, 2-strike pitch to Lee May. Jackson on second with 2 outs. Hassler's pitch to May. High for a ball. Here you can watch Lee May wave the bat.
Looks like he's stirring butter.
2-2 to Lee May. He got him. So Hassler strikes out Harper and May to retire the side. So the Orioles do not score. One base hit, the single by Jackson. They leave one man on in scoring position. After one full, Baltimore nothing, Kansas City nothing.
Bill, I'll be late, so start dinner about 6:30. Take the chicken out of the freezer. Put it in our new Amana Touchmatic radar range oven. Set 16 minutes touch defrost. Okay. Set 25 minutes cooking time and start. It's simple. It's so automatic, the clock will come on when you're done. Love, Mary.
The Amana Touchmatic radar range cooks with split-second accuracy and uses much less electricity than a conventional range.
In the summertime, when the weather is hot, you can stretch right up and touch the sky.
Don't let an overheated car spoil your summer driving. Have your independent Texaco retailer check your car's cooling system regularly and protect it with Texaco antifreeze and coolant. No other coolant of this type protects better against boilover, and it helps prevent rust and corrosion all year long. Texaco antifreeze and coolant.
Betty, meet Chris Case, our new anchorman. Hi.
We've already met. Your aftershave. It got here about 5 minutes before you did.
Don't jump.
Actually, I was going to ask you to wait out there.
Funny.
Can I make a suggestion?
Suggest.
Linen skin bracer aftershave. It's got a nice clean smell. Not too perfumey. It doesn't arrive before you do.
Thanks, I needed that. Chris Case, skin bracer. Remember?
I don't believe we've ever met.
Skin bracer doesn't get there till you do.
Now join us 1 week from tonight for more action here on ABC's Monday Night Baseball. Next week, you'll be seeing the Los Angeles Dodgers take on the San Diego Padres in San Diego. And if the pitching rotation follows, then Randy Jones, who won his 20th game earlier last week, will pitch for the Padres. Plus, the always exciting rivalry between the Red Sox and the Yankees. So that's ABC's Monday Night Baseball 1 week from tonight, beginning at 8:30 Eastern Time over most of these ABC stations. Consult the local listing and the game in your area. This is John Mayberry, right field. Easy play for Jackson, and there's one down. Well, we really didn't have time to say it, Bob, but there's another guy you faced in the National League, John Mayberry.
Right. Mayberry was extremely young when I faced him. I think it was his first year. Of course, he got traded out of the league. Harry Walker, who was the manager down there, wanted to make a Punch and Judy out of him, and he wanted to hit home runs, so they traded him.
Walker wanted to make Mayberry a singles hitter?
A 255-pound ping hitter.
Well, Walker usually, I think, is correct on his hitting theories. I remember he helped Matty Alou win a batting championship one year. Helped him hit it out, but that's amazing. This is Al Cowens, the young right fielder. This is Cowan's third year, and really this is his first full shot this season. Al Cowens. And that's a fair ball. He'll get an easy two-base hit out of that. Cowens will get a stand-up double as he runs into second base. A two-base hit for Al Cowens.
You know, you look at this Kansas City ball club, and you don't see any one man doing an extremely outstanding job. Everybody does a pretty good job. They play pretty good defensive ball, and they have fair pitching. And that's the way you win a pennant. You hardly ever will see this ball club with some superstar. At least they haven't had one so far. Of course, I guess Mayberry would come as close to anybody.
Yeah.
He's having kind of an off year, but he probably would come as close as anybody being a superstar.
This is Frank White, the second baseman, of course, a graduate of the now-defunct Kansas City Royals Academy. This program is being brought to you as an exclusive presentation of ABC Sports. Let's pause 5 seconds now to allow our local stations to identify themselves. The one-ball pitch to Frank White with Cowens at second base and one out. White hitting at .227. One of the best bunters on the Kansas City Ball Club. And I'll tell you something. The way Doug DeSensei is playing at third, I wouldn't be surprised, even with a one strikeout and one out, to see White lay it down. Look where DeSensei is playing, deep in back of the bag.
Well, if he lays one down right now, you got to kick him in his pants. You got that man out there in scoring position. He's got to be whacking at that thing. I've seen it done, though.
There's the sensei. Deep in back of the bag. Cowens leading off second with 1 out. 2 balls and a strike to Frank White. And he goes to right field, foul. White hit .250 last season. And he is the first to admit that without the Kansas City Royal Academy, he would not be in the major leagues today. The scout said, no, kid, you'll never make it.
Well, I've known a lot of those scouts to be wrong, too. Lots of them.
2-2 to Frank White. And that'll right field. Jackson base hit. Cowens will score. And White will go into second with a stand-up double. So doubles back-to-back by Cowens and White put Kansas City ahead 1-0.
Talking about scouts, several years ago when I was being scouted, I was trying to sign for a big bonus. One scout told me that there's no way I could get a bonus because he didn't think that I could make AAA ball club.
Was that after you had played for the Harlem Globetrotters or before?
No, that's when I was still in college. I played with the Globetrotters the first year that I signed. Actually, I played baseball first, and then I played basketball that winter, kind of supplying me with a winter job.
This is Freddie Patek, the smallest man in baseball, only by stature, 5'4", 140 pounds. 9th year in the major leagues, came over from the Pirates, and I guess here's another guy you faced, Gibby.
Right. Asked Patek one day, how's it feel to be the smallest man in the major league? He says, well, it's not as bad as being the smallest man in the minor leagues.
Or the biggest guy in the minor leagues. Outside to Patek. Let me ask you something, Bob. Was it difficult after facing a tall man to have Patek come up? Did you have to rearrange your strike zone?
Oh, yeah, it's easier to pitch to a taller guy than it is to him, but at that particular time, he didn't have a good strike zone. You throw that ball up there, and he'd hack at it, so it wasn't that tough to pitch to him. He's a much improved player now.
White at second, 1 out. Kansas City leads 1-0. 2-ball pitch. Patek, right center. Blair, long run. He's got it. Paul Blair, who many people have believed for years is the best defensive center fielder in the American League, bar none.
You know, when you have a ball player like that can play like Blair, I think you would have to make concessions sometime for his hitting. If he wasn't hitting up to par, I still think that he could do you as much good out there in the outfield as anybody else. Therefore, he has to play. He can make up for not hitting by playing that great defense.
Blair having his worst year in the major leagues, hitting at 199. This is Buck Martinez, the catcher.
Maybe I'd want him to hit a little bit more.
Well, you even hit better than that.
Well, at times I did.
Huh? You hit 303 one year when you were pitching for the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah. I love to swing the bat. I wouldn't like that designated hitter bit.
Martinez hitting 250. Frank White at second base with 2 outs. Kansas City leads 1-0 on back-to-back doubles by Cowens and White. Now, the pitchers like Martinez. They say they like him behind there. He gives them confidence. A 1-strike pitch to Martinez, right field. Jackson has it in range, and that's it for Kansas City. But they do score 1 run on back-to-back doubles by Cowens and White. So with the Orioles coming to bat in a home second, it's Kansas City 1, Baltimore 0.
Back when Allstate was just beginning to insure homes, we learned some important lessons from the things we saw. We saw brush fires that plagued the West. We saw tornadoes that visit the Plain States each year, the hurricanes of the Gulf Coast. And we also saw that no regular claims operation could handle a major disaster. So Allstate set up specially trained disaster teams, trained to be on the scene within hours with the authority to start settling claims, even for total losses. In 1974 alone, these Allstate teams handled 55 major disasters and settled more than 95,000 claims for people who didn't expect it to happen to them. At Allstate, we'll continue to prepare for the things nobody expects to happen.
Jimmy!
And that's a promise from the 30,000 good hands people of Allstate. A promise from Joe, Joyce, Julie, George, Susan, Ray, Jackie.
All right, the Kansas City defense tonight, young Jim Wolford in left field. The center fielder, the one-handed, all-reliable Amos Otis. In right field, Al Cowens, who doubled in the previous inning. The infield for Kansas City tonight, George Brett, hitting at .333. Freddie Patek at shortstop, the former Pittsburgh Pirate. Frank White, doubled last inning, second base. And at first, Big John Mayberry. Buck Martinez behind the plate. And, of course, number 16, Andrew Earl Hassler on the mound. The Orioles in the bottom of the second will have Singleton, DeSensei, and Belanger.
Singleton's another ball player I face over in National League. He played with Montreal.
That's right, and with the Mets.
Right.
Singleton, switch hitter. Now, here, there is a difference in Singleton batting right-handed and left-handed. Right-handed, Singleton is hitting .204. Left-handed, .288. 84 points different hitting left-handed. Kenny Singleton. Right center, a lot of balls to right field tonight. Cowens backpedals, does an imitation of Amos Otis, and there's one down. Who was the first guy outfielder you ever saw catch with one hand? Did they do that for the Cardinals? Do some ball clubs say, hey, you got to catch with two hands?
I've seen so many ball players with the Cardinals, I can't remember. We ran through some players.
Now, of course, it's a common sight.
You know, you may notice that most of these hitters are hitting that ball out there to right field, and the reason for that is because Hassler is keeping the ball on the outside part of the plate. They can't pull it.
Doug DeSensei, cut off by Brett. Throw to first, 2 down for the Orioles. 5-3 if you're scoring, 3rd to 1st.
I always like to tell, always like to tell stories about Harry Walker. Harry Walker, he'd teach you to hit that outside corner if you were a pitcher. Then he'd teach that hitter how to go out there and hit that ball. Something was wrong there.
Mark Belanger. In his 10th year, I believe I said his 13th season. 10th year for Belanger. Belanger started off strong, now hitting a .269. Never a power hitter, of course. 1 home run, 34 runs batted in. Belanger replaced Louis Aparicio. Seems the Orioles have always had a strong shortstop. Ron Hansen, Billy Hunter, whom we see down at third base there. Willie Miranda was a shortstop here. Chico Carrasquel.
You know, you'll find out that any ball club that won the pennant year after year usually had a pretty good shortstop, second baseman, and center fielder. They got to be strong up the middle.
Pitch to Belanger. Patek charges. And that's it for Baltimore. 1, 2, 3. Fly out, 2 ground outs. And after 2 complete innings here at Memorial Stadium, it's Kansas City 1, Baltimore nothing.
First 100 years, all we brought out of this mine was Levi's blue jeans. Tough as nails. But then we struck a whole new vein. Now look, new fabrics, new colors, and new styles. They all come from the same place as those blue jeans, so they're bound to do right by folks. Because here at Levi's, we put a little blue jean in everything we make.
Chevrolet asked Chevette owners how they liked their cars.
It has a wonderful turning radius.
We're a very tall family, and we wanted a small car. We tried many cars, including the Rabbit, and we couldn't fit in. I'm 6'2", and my husband is 6'5".
Well, it's a lot quieter than I thought it might be.
Well, I like it because I can put both my German Shepherds in it.
It's everything I thought it would be.
Chevette by Chevrolet. It could make you a happy owner, too.
Watch. Hank will hang up his coat, pet the dog, kiss me on the cheek, and then say,
I'm hungry.
Thank heavens for Hungry Man dinners from Swanson, like their Hungry Man chopped beefsteak dinner.
Hey, 2 broiled chopped beefsteaks.
That's right. Swanson already put the second helping in. Try Swanson Hungry Man Dinners.
Broiled chopped beef steak.
The next best thing to your good cooking. Swanson makes it good.
Kansas City will have Wolford, Otis, and Brett. You know, there you see Darrell Herzog, Whitey Herzog. The players affectionately call him Stein, and there's a reason for it.
Of course, we have a good bunch of guys, and we're try to keep them pretty loose, you know, and we've not got the kind of people on our ball club that have to be chewed out every day. Once in a while we have to do it, but not very often. They go out every day and they battle and they scratch, and I've been very pleased since I've been here how they've responded to me, and as long as we can joke around, that's fine with me.
You don't mind them calling you Frankenstein?
I don't know. Didn't know it stood for Frankenstein. I just thought it was because I was German, you know. But no, really, Warner, it's been a pretty good deal here, and I'm just real happy to have this ball club.
Whitey Herzog explaining the little nickname they have for him. What about some nicknames in your playing days, Gibby, for managers and players? Any
we call them a lot of things. Sometimes you can't. I don't think we could mention most of it out here, but I don't know. I'd have to think about that a while. We called Red Cheney's call him Huck.
Huck?
Yeah.
Huckleberry Finn?
Right.
Jim Wolford batting in the Kansas City third. They lead 1-0. Right field again, out of play.
Sparky Anderson, they call him Captain Hook.
Oh, yeah. Takes out those pitchers. They used to
Gene
call...
Mark. Gene Mark, they call him the Little General.
Little General, right.
Yeah.
And Belanger, and he was ready to backhand it, and it went over his glove. I would assume they'll score a hit, especially since the game is in Baltimore. Base hit for Jim Wolford.
Looked like it did take a little bad hop there.
So Wolford leads it off with a base hit. And here's Otis, who singled in the first inning. Otis now 13 for 35 against Baltimore this season. Kansas City has won 6 of the first 9 games played between these ball clubs, with 3 to go. So they cannot lose the season series. In case you're looking ahead, the Kansas City Yankee series, Kansas City won that series 7 games to 5. Amos Otis coming into this game hitting .294. Wolford has stolen 18 bases this season, thrown out 10 times. Otis came over with the New York Mets in 1970 in a trade for Joe Foy. 7th year as a regular now. .281 lifetime. Amos Otis. One strike pitch to Otis. Brett is on deck.
You know, I was just thinking about what you said about Otis, and you see a guy like that, a great ball player, and the Mets are still looking for pretty good ball players, and you wonder
and
what
looking
goes
for
on.
Out center fielder.
That's right. You wonder what goes on in their mind when they get rid of it. Of course, you know it when they're young. You don't know how they're going to develop, but they're impatient.
Of course, when Otis was with the Mets, they tried him out at third base. 1-1 to Otis. Foul ball. Reds and Cards 1-1 in the first inning. Gullett against Denny. And, of course, it was Denny who beat the Reds last Monday night. Phillies and Astros scoreless in the first. Christensen against Larson. Phillies lead by 12. The Reds lead by 9. 1-2 to Otis. Oh. So Rudy May fans Otis, and that'll bring up George Brett. You know, Bob, just looking at this lineup, Otis hitting a .294, Brett hitting a .333, McCray hitting a .355, followed by John Mayberry with the RBIs. Really, that is one of the best 2, 3, 4, 5 batters in baseball today.
You just about have to have that if you're going to win the pennant. You'll notice that most ball clubs, either if they're win the pennant or in their second place, they'll have the meat of their lineup hitting 300, and, of course, the guys driving in runs. You just about have to have that. Of course, you got to have a couple of pitchers that win 15, 20 ball games. You look at St. Louis Cardinals, and you look down their lineup, and you see one or two guys hitting pretty well. You don't see any pitchers that have over 12 or 14 wins, and that's the whole story.
Left-handed hitting George Brett from Glendale, West Virginia. Boy, Brett had an incredible streak this year when he had 6 straight games, 3 hits or more in 6 consecutive games. Al McRae, the on-deck hitter. 1-1 to George Brett. Wolford at first, 1 out in the Kansas City third. The Royals lead 1-0, and Brett steps out.
Now, there's a little thing there that I just really didn't care for when I was playing. I'd be out there ready to throw, and by the time I got ready to deliver the ball, the batter would step out, and the umpire would say, time out. I think there should be a time and point where the umpire will not call timeout.
So you're saying, in other words, once you're in your motion, then that's it. The batter should not have a right to call timeout.
Right. He went into his stretch, and he had started his delivery toward home plate.
1-1 to Brett. Bob, Reggie Jackson has been thrown at a lot this year. He's been hit in the face. Doc Ellis hit him in the face. It seems to me that it's almost unfair in the American League to throw at a batter because the pitchers don't come up anymore. You can't retaliate by throwing at the pitcher.
Well, you can't change. I think the guys have to be brushed back. Actually, throwing at a guy, I think that's wrong to try to hit a guy. But to brush them back, you have to do it regardless of whether you're playing in a league where you hit or you don't hit. You got to go out there and do a job. And I think the only way you can do a good job pitching is to loosen these guys up, move the ball around on them.
You never tried to hit anybody?
No. I've hit guys, a lot of guys.
But all accident?
Well, I guess you can't say that they were really accidents because you're trying to come inside close enough to the guy where you're going to brush him back. If he gets hit, then you don't think about it. You know, well, okay, he got hit. But to intentionally throw a ball at a guy and try to hurt him, I think very few guys try to do that. It may be done, but I don't know of any that's done it. When you hit a guy, you don't think the consequences, is it going to hurt him real bad or is it going to hurt him a little bit? You just throw it.
2-2 to George Brett. Wolford at first, 1 out in the Kansas City third. And there goes Wolford. The throw to second, and Wolford is out. A good throw by Dave Duncan, and Gritch put it on him. So that's it for Kansas City. They do not score in the third inning. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, none left. Bottom of the third, Kansas City 1, Baltimore nothing.
Sears National Automotive Values. Sears rolls back regular prices on Sears' best-selling steel-belted radio with the heritage of the world's tough roads. Up to $67 lower on sets of 4. And if you need new shocks, ride on into Sears. Sears heavy-duty shocks are on sale now, just $4.99 each. You save over 30%. Only at Sears.
The shower massage by Waterpick is America's favorite. Here's why.
Oh, feels like somebody's massaging my back.
Oh, this would be great. This would be better than a cocktail.
This would be better than soaking in a hot tub.
It seems like 1,000... like 1,000 fingers are massaging me.
Get America's favorite, the shower massage by Waterpick.
That's me, Fred Lynn, making the catch of my life. And that's my buddy, Jim Wright, snacking one to the stand. Baseball's not the only place where young people can show their stuff.
Today's Navy offers young men and women first-rate training and challenging jobs.
Plus travel and some real adventure.
So get on the ball.
And join the Navy team.
For more information, call your Navy recruiter toll-free at 800-841-8000.
Preceding a message on behalf of Major League Baseball. As you see Bobby Gritch in the Oriole dugout, Hey, we invite you to join us this Saturday night for another NFL game as the Houston Oilers travel to Texas Stadium in Irvington and take on the powerful Dallas Cowboys. Dan Pastorini from the Oilers up against Roger Staubach. And it's billed as the Battle of Texans. NFL football Saturday night beginning at 9 o'clock Eastern time over most of these ABC stations. So the Orioles come to bat in the home third. This is Paul Blair. Brett struck out to end that inning, and Duncan threw to Gritch and put the tag on Wolford to complete the double play. Blair, as we pointed out earlier, having his worst season in baseball, hitting at 199. George Brett, just in case Paul Blair decides to lay one down. Although with a 2-strike count, I think he might surprise a lot of people. It's playing a little close for a 2-strike count, isn't it?
Sure is. I'll tell you why they do that. Blair is not what you would consider a pulled hitter. And anytime you find a guy like Blair that hits the ball up the middle and the other way, third baseman will usually come in a step or two.
That's called the cheating in on him a little bit.
Yes.
1-2 to Paul Blair. This is Blair's 12th year, still only 32 years old. I remember one year Blair opened the season. It was 1971. He opened as a switch hitter. He started the season switch hitting, but gave it up in May.
Long about now, he's probably wishing that he was still a switch hitter.
1-0, Kansas City, Baltimore on the home third. The pitch to Blair, he got him. That's 3 for Randy Hassler, 3 strikeouts, and that'll bring up Dave Duncan.
Hassler is mixing his pitches extremely well. He's got that good changeup going for him, and you notice that he's throwing the changeup when he's ahead of the hitter. Hardly ever throwing it when he's behind the hitter.
Duncan, who came over from Cleveland in the Boog Powell deal, hitting at 209. Played 5 years with Oakland. Kansas City scored the run in the second inning on back-to-back doubles by Cowens and White, and that's been it. 1-0 Kansas City. We're in the third. Oakland plays later on the coast tonight against the Yankees. Going into tonight's game, Kansas City leads Oakland by 8 with 33 to play, including 6 against each other the last 9 days in September. Boston leads Texas 6-1 now in the 5th inning. Tiant going for his 16th.
Warner, you know when you're chasing a ball club, you want to play them. You don't want to play anybody else because you can't depend on somebody else beating them, so you want to play them head-to-head.
Right. Well, you didn't play. Oh, you see the on-deck batter, Tommy Harper. How many times did you meet the Phillies after you were down by 11?
I think we had 5 games.
5 games to the Phillies.
Yeah.
2-1 to Duncan. Popped him up. Wolford in, Patek out. Patek calls, and there's 2 down.
Remembering back in 1964 when we were playing the Phillies, they came into St. Louis, and we beat them a 3-game series, and then they left, and they went to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati beat them 2. And that's how we won.
This is the well-traveled Tommy Harper. Harper struck out in the first inning. Harper came up with the Reds, was traded to Cleveland, traded to the Pilots, actually drafted by the old Seattle Pilots, moved to Milwaukee, was traded to the Red Sox, was traded to the Angels, and picked up by the Orioles. 35-year-old Tommy Harper.
My God, and with all that traveling, he must be about 70.
The pitch to Harper. Brett, 1 hop, throw to first, and that's it. Another easy inning for Andy Hassler. So after 3 complete, it's Kansas City 1, Baltimore nothing.
The Alaskan Pipeline. 800 of the toughest miles man has ever conquered.
Quitting time!
And up here, quitting time is Miller time. Time to head for the best tasting beer you can find. America's quality beer, Miller High Life.
If you've got the time, We got the beer, Miller beers. Miller Bar! Belly up, everybody! We got the beer.
It's not just athletes that get athlete's foot. Innocent men, women, and children can get it too, just by coming in contact with it. And man, does it itch. Well, the first itch you feel, you spray on MP27. MP27 will kill that athlete's foot fungus and help keep it from coming back. Believe me, I've seen a whole lot of scratching going on. MP27 is the end of the itch.
I know, you're not getting a terrific shave from your electric razor. Maybe there's nothing wrong with your razor. Maybe there's something wrong with your face. Your beard is just laying there. Make it stand up with this. Williams Electric Shave. Look, every leading razor manufacturer tells you, use a pre-shave. Most people use electric shave. It gets your beard to stand up, so your razor shaves closer and with less irritation. Williams Electric Shave. Makes your beard stand up. Makes your razor shave better.
You know, a lot of designated hitters do different ways to prepare themselves while they don't play the field.
First of all, if I know the pitcher, I don't sit on the dugout bench that much. If I don't know the pitcher, I try to sit there for a couple of innings. I try to run a lot. If I get a sweat going, I try to hold that sweat. I try to stay loose.
Where do you run?
At Kansas City, we have a tunnel I can use. In the newer ballparks, we have tunnels. In the older ballparks, I use the bullpens a lot. When the inning change, I run back and forth. I think the most important thing is to be as loose, being a designated hitter, as you would be if you were playing in the outfield. And I think that's where a lot of guys have the problem, because they maybe read the magazines or sit on the bench. You can't sit and be cold. You got to be as active as you were if you were in the ball game. And I think that's the reason why I've been having a lot of success doing it, because I'm never stiff when I go to the plate.
Hal McRae explaining his theory on being a designated hitter.
I agree with him. It's almost the same theory as pitching. That's why pitchers throw warm-up pitches.
Oh, off the knee of May. Good recovery. Throw to first, and they get McRae, remember, who cannot run full speed. Otherwise, that's a base hit.
There's tremendous reflex play on May's part. You see that ball come back to that box, and usually you're off balance. He jumped right on it. He threw it off balance. Of course, the throw was in the dirt, and Lee May made a fine play over it first.
Once again, Hal McRae pulled a muscle way back on July the 15th. He has not been able to run full speed since. In fact, he stole his 20th base in that game and hasn't stolen one since. And has not played a game in the field since. This is Mayberry, who flied out to right in the second inning. Big John coming into this ball game with 13 home runs and 82 runs batted in. A one-strike pitch to Mayberry. You know, Bob, I have always felt that the most underrated category in baseball is runs batted in. I personally think it's more important than batting average and home runs.
Yeah, I agree with you. 100%. Those are the guys that win in the ball game. You know, there's a guy named Joe Cunningham several years ago when I first started. He won the batting title. He hit something like .337, and he drove in 38 runs. You know, so then what's the use?
Don't tell Joe that. On deck, Cowens has Mayberry out of play. A ball and 2 strikes on John Mayberry. Mayberry, his last 4 years, has averaged 27 home runs and 94 RBIs per year. I'll tell you something unusual. Mayberry is the only American League player to drive in 100 or more runs in 3 of the last 4 years. He's the only player. One-two to Mayberry. And Blair will not get this one. A base hit for Mayberry. So Mayberry gets the 5th hit off Rudy May. And that'll bring up Al Cowens, who doubled in the second inning and later scored on the double by Frank White. Rudy May came up in the Philadelphia organization and was traded to the Angels way back in 1964 for Bo Belinsky.
Bo Belinsky. He played with the Cardinals, too. I think everybody played with the Cardinals.
The pitch to Cowens. If you're thinking of Mayberry stealing, forget it.
The only thing you can do there is
all right,
hit
Bob,
and
what
run.
about you see the third base coach, Chuck Hiller?
Yeah, he's not giving anything. The only thing you can do there is
all right,
hit
Bob,
and
what
run.
about you see the third base coach, Chuck Hiller?
Yeah, he's not giving anything over there. You watch him. He's trying to fool somebody. The only thing he could possibly give here is a hit and run because Mayberry can't run.
Mayberry has stolen only 3 bases all season. Were you ever used as a pinch runner, Bob?
Sure was. I pitched around a lot of times until I got hurt one time, then they decided not to do it anymore.
And May making Cowens look bad, saying that Cowens went around that time. You know, Jim Cott was hurt this year. Watch that pitch again. See if Cowens goes around.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Not even close.
Nah, he swung at that.
Of course, we can...
Umpire saw it, too, evidently.
Yeah. The first time. 1-2 to Cowens, and he goes for an outside pitch, pops it up, and Grich will have it for the second out. Jim Cott was used as a pinch runner this year and hurt himself and missed 2 turns.
I can recall, I can't recall what year it was, but I slid in second base, and I hit the shortstop. I ripped his knee open. He had something like 14 or 15 stitches, and I had a sprung ankle for about a month.
Who was it? You remember?
It was against Chicago. I can't recall the shortstop. It was so long ago. Try not to remember back that far.
It wasn't Kessinger, huh?
No, this was before Kessinger.
Before Kessinger. This is Frank White. White doubled in the only run of the ball game in the second inning. So Mayberry at first with 2 outs. Kansas City leading 1-0. We're in the 4th inning at Baltimore. In that Oakland game, it will be Alexander against Norris, New York at Oakland, starting on the West Coast later. Boston leading Texas 6-1 in the 5th inning. Blyleven has been knocked out for the Rangers. Tion in there for Boston. And Minnesota leads Milwaukee 2-1 in the 1st. Augustine against Redfern. Redfern has been knocked out. Or rather, Bergmeyer in there for Minnesota. A ball and 2 strikes to Frank White from Greenville, Mississippi, 25 years old. Yesterday, Frank White had a single, a double, and a home run. And had his double tonight. So White, in his last 5 times at bat, has a single, 2 doubles, and a home run. 4 for 5 for Frank White.
I've been watching the way they're pitching him. He chokes up a lot. He stands right on top of the plate. Therefore, I would be reluctant to throw him a lot of breaking stuff, but they seem to be going with the breaking stuff to him.
1-2 to Frank White. Oh, almost hits him. Man, what a move to get out of the way of that one.
I think Rudy May heard me out there. The ball right up under his feet.
Oh!
Just about hit his back foot. Now, right now, the thing to do would be to come back with a fastball inside, but I guarantee you he's going to throw him a breaking ball, and he's going to be looking for it.
2-2 to Frank White. You called it, Bob. Blair. And that's it for Kansas City. So the Royals do not score in the 4th. No runs, 1 hit. No Baltimore errors, 1 left. We go to the bottom of the 4th. 1-0 Kansas City.
The gas pumps connected to our pipelines.
Our pipelines connected to refineries.
Refineries connected to our oil wells. Texaco connects them to you.
Every part of Texaco is connected to every other part to get you the quality gasoline and oil you need wherever you are.
Our oil wells connected to refineries. Refineries connected to our pipelines. Our pipelines connected to the gas pumps. Texaco connects them to you.
We're working to keep your trust.
I like my chicken finger licking good.
I like my chicken finger licking good.
Whatever Lila likes, Lila gets. And Lila likes her chicken finger licking good.
Well, of course I like my chicken finger licking good. Is there any other kind of chicken? I like my chicken finger licking good.
Real goodness from Kentucky Fried Chicken.
This Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports will be the 300-mile late model stock car race from the famed Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. Also, Wide World of Sports will be in Philadelphia for the National AAU Weightlifting Championships, featuring competition in the heavyweight and super heavyweight classes. Plus, from the Royal Lytham and St. Anne's Golf Club in England, you'll be seeing this year's Curtis Cup Golf Championship. That's ABC's Wide World of Sports this Saturday, 5 o'clock Eastern and Pacific, 4 o'clock Central Time over most of these ABC stations. This is Gritch leading off for Baltimore. The Orioles trail 1-0, bottom of the fourth. They have only one hit off Andy Hassler. Single by Reggie Jackson in the first inning. And Jackson stole second, was stranded at second as Lee May struck out. That's been it for Baltimore.
Warner, something you don't see much, and you used to see it a few years ago, when a ball club faced a pitcher like Hassler and they couldn't hit him, they would bunt a little more. They try to do anything to get on base, but now it seems that everybody lays back and waits for that big inning. It never happens.
Good point. Reggie Jackson on deck. 1-1 to Gritch, and that'll be a base hit. The second hit off Hassler. So Gritch leads it off with a base hit, and that'll bring up Reggie Jackson. Sparse but enthusiastic crowd here in Baltimore tonight.
I guess Reggie's happy about that, because the fewer people, the less people to boo him.
Gritch at first, leading off with a base hit in the bottom of the fourth. Reggie Jackson has had a rough year physically, hit in the face by a pitch from Doc Ellis. Has hit the deck numerous times this season. The pitch to Reggie. Correction on the Western Union wire if you're keeping track of the other scores. Redfern is pitching for Minnesota. So it's Augustine against Redford. 2-1 Minnesota in the first inning over Milwaukee. The pitch to Jackson. Reggie talking to himself. There's Lee May on deck. He even waves the bat on deck.
Perpetual motion.
One, two, throw to first. A lot of bugs here tonight, Bob. Let me ask you something. As a pitcher, did that ever bother you? Look at all those bugs.
No, I don't think it bothers the pitcher nearly as much as it bothers the hitter. Sometimes he might swing at one of those bugs flying things and think it's a curveball. Love it. Throw right behind the bug's ear.
Hassler with a 1-2 to Jackson. And that's it for Reggie. Joe Brinkman says that's it. Reggie says, come on, Joe, it was a little low.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Reggie right there. I think we can take a look at that ball. Curveball. Yeah, he even caught the ball. You notice when the catcher caught it, his hand went down. That ball was pretty low. But then the umpire's always right. He said, please, Mr. Umpire, I beg to differ with you.
So that's it for Reggie. Strikeout number 4 for Andy Hassler as Reggie puts his batting helmet into the slot. And Lee May swinging a miss. May struck out in the first inning. Hassler has struck out 4, walked none, given up only 2 singles to Jackson and Gritch. 1-0 Kansas City. Gritch on first. Lee May waving the bat.
A guy like Lee May, you call him one speed. He has one speed of swing. You throw a curveball or a changeup or a fastball, it doesn't matter. He still swings the bat the same way.
Does that make it easier for you as a pitcher?
Yes, it does. You can trick him a little more. Of course, he gets the bat on there often enough to drive in some runs.
Lee May, the older brother, of course, of Carlos May. Two-strike pitch to May, and there it goes to the left field. It's a foul ball. Gritch around second, heading for third. Hunter holds him up at third. May's into second with a double. The Orioles with runners at second and third and one out.
There's a case of the pitcher outsmarting himself. You know, he's getting away with that ball away from May. Fastballs away, breaking balls away, and all of a sudden he decides he wants to come inside with a fastball. And a guy like Lee May is always ready for a fastball inside, always.
So Andy Hassler in his first rough inning, runners at second and third, one out, and this is Singleton.
Here's a look at that pitch right here. There it is, right inside. Of course, he wiggled that back one less time that time. Right down the line. Of course, the rest is history. Double.
Wolford playing it off the wall. Gritch at third. May at second. Singleton flied out in the second inning. Singleton from New York City. Hit an even 300 last year.
He's one of the few hitters that hits the same way regardless of whether he's hitting left hand or right handed. You pitch him inside both ways.
Orioles trail 1-0. Second and third, one out. Singleton, ground ball. Patek charges, only one play. That's at first. Gritch scores and the game is tied. Give Singleton an RBI. So Singleton, who was hitting only 185 the 1st of June, upping his average to 265 and is now 49 runs batted in. This is DeSensei. DeSensei coming into this ball game hitting a 241, grounded out in the second inning. 1-1. May against Hassler, Kansas City and Baltimore. Lee May held second base. 2 outs, May at second. There's May, your base runner at second. Not a fast man. It would take a good base hit in the outfield to score May from second, even with 2 outs. Popped him up. Mayberry calls for it. Big John has it, and that's it for Baltimore. But the Orioles break through with a single, a double, and a ground out. After 4 complete, Baltimore won, Kansas City won.
96% of all Chevy trucks registered in the past 10 years are still on the job. And before we introduced our Chevy Chevette, we took it through many of the same durability tests our tough Chevy pickup trucks go through. We tested its brakes the same way, its corrosion resistance, its suspension. Now, we're not trying to say a Chevette can do everything a Chevy truck can do, but obviously the Chevette has been raised in some pretty tough company. When you want to stay first, you design cars to last.
Here they come.
There may be times when you want to show the love you feel.
Sometimes Bank AmeriCard can make all the difference. State Farm agent Paul Ward.
I have dealt with my customers for many years on their automobile and their homeowners policies. So when the time comes to discuss life insurance with them, it's a time when they're able to open up to me because of the fact they already know me. I'm not just someone knocking on their door cold. I'm a friend. I'm someone they can trust and have confidence in.
State Farm is there.
There you see Freddie Patek ready to lead it off for the Kansas City Royals here in the 5th inning. Freddie Patek. And now you see Patek on the left, 5'4", 140 pounds. Andy Hassler on the right, 6'5", 215 pounds.
You know, you might say a foot long and a hot dog.
Hey, I'll buy that.
I don't think he'd appreciate me calling him a hot dog.
No, he certainly is not a hot dog. Patek flied out to Blair in the 2nd inning. You might recall the running catch by Blair in right center field. Here, Herzog rates Patek as he goes after the first pitch and falls down. One of the top 3 shortstops in baseball, along with Boa and Harrelson. That's his 3.
Well, I would differ from him. I wouldn't put Harrelson in there.
I'm sure a lot of people might include Campaneris or Belanger, perhaps Concepcion.
Yeah, there's a lot of great shortstops. You're tough when you're going to narrow it down to 3.
Yeah. 1-1 to Patek, and he thought it was outside. Joe Brinkman said it was the outside corner, Fred. Cards and the Reds 1-1 in the 5th inning. You recall last Monday night we showed you the Cardinals pound out 14 hits and beat the Reds 9-5. 1-2 to Fred. He got him. That's number 3 for Rudolph May Jr.
Here's a changeup. Patek way out in front. He's looking for that fast stuff. Both these guys are good fastball hitters, and anything other than a fastball throws them off balance a little bit.
Martinez flied out to right field in the 2nd inning. 1-1. We're in the 5th. Kansas City trying to hold on to the 8-game lead. Baltimore, as their hopes dwindle, trail by 11.5. There you see George Bamberger, pitching coach of the Orioles. Hey, there's a guy that perhaps should get more credit. Bamberger. He's been here a while.
Of course, you know, when you talk about a pitching coach, and you talk about giving a pitching coach credit for the pitchers, you have to pretty much stick with the pitchers that came up through the organization.
Backhanded by Belanger. Long throw to first. He's got it. Good play by Belanger. 6-3 if you're scoring.
Here's another look at that play. Ball's in the hole. He had to backhand it. And you notice he came up with almost the same motion and threw the ball. That's just about the only way you can get him in that situation. Got him by 2-3 feet.
2 down, and here's Wolford, who's 1 for 2. Popped out in the 1st and singled in the 3rd and was out stealing. Jim Wolford, the left fielder. Speaking of Bamberger, you know, he's been here 8 years. They've had 15 20-game winners since he's been here. But, of course, as you point out, well, you don't have the pitchers, so what?
May have something to do with all that hitting they've had over the last few years, too. Of course, this is a big ballpark, bigger than most of the parks in the league. And you have to have a cannon to drive that ball out there with the wind blowing over the fence. So this is a pitcher's park.
There you see the Kansas City infield. Defensively for Wolford is Sensei just in back of the bag. They play him straight away. 2-1 to Wolford. Boston now leads Texas 11-1 in the 6th inning. Rice has hit his 17th and 18th home runs of the year. Tion coasting on his 16th win. And Wolford, left field, singled in, can't get it. Good stop. And the throw to second. Wolford tries for a double, cut off by Belanger. I don't know if Belanger doesn't cut off. It might be close at second.
Yeah, I think there, Belanger didn't hear, or either the second baseman, Grits didn't say anything, because that ball looked like it was headed right in there to get him.
Somebody's got to tell him, either cut it or let it go.
Right.
Or I assume it's automatically cut unless someone says let it go. So Wolford doubles, and that's the 6th hit off Rudy May. Nice backhand by Singleton in left field.
Oh, yeah. He did everything he could. If he tried to do it any other way, the ball probably would have rolled to the wall.
6 hits off May, 3 have been doubles. Here's Otis, who singled in the first and struck out in the third. He leads the league in doubles. Amos Otis.
Warner, you're talking about all those bugs down on the field. I think half of them are up here in our booth now.
There you see Chuck Hiller, third base coach. Chuck Hiller, first National League player ever to hit a grand slam in a World Series. Did it for the Giants. No one had hit a grand slam until Hiller did it against the Yankees. One strike pitch to Otis. Wolford at second, 2 outs. The score is 1-1. Man, a lot of bugs now. Remember the bee situation in Cincinnati earlier this year.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the pitcher out there. He might come up with a new pitch now called the bug pitch. Is that terrible?
Yeah, it is. But I'll pretend I didn't hear it, Bob. 1-1, top of the 5th inning, 2 outs. Wolford at second. 2 balls, 1 strike pitch to Amos Otis. Up the middle. That'll get through. Wolford will score, and Kansas City leads 2-1. So Amos Otis now 2 for 3 and a run batted in. The 7th hit off Rudy May. And Otis, look at Otis singling up the middle.
That ball come up the middle. There's nothing you can do about it. The pitcher is usually falling off one way or other on the mound, and he's off balance. And unless the ball is hit on the side where your glove is, it's almost impossible to catch that thing.
Otis now 14 for 37 in the 9 games against Baltimore. 14 hits and 37 at-bats.
You know, you would think that they'd walk the guy or something.
Get rid of him. Here's Brett, who's 0 for 2. Now, Brett was up there with McRae as recently as 3.5 weeks ago for the batting title. They were each around the 350 mark. McRae has stayed there. McRae hitting 355, but Brett has dropped to 333. The 1 strike pitch to Brett, out of play. There you see Dave Pagan, the former Yankee, warming up in the Oriole bullpen. Came over in the same trade with Rudy May.
You know, it's really tough when you're pitching a ball game like this, where he's pitching a pretty good ball game, but they don't get any runs. So you give up a couple of runs, and already somebody down there cranking in the bullpen. And you don't feel real good as a starting pitcher when that situation happens.
2 strike pitch to George Brett, with Otis fakes the run to second. Let me ask you something, Bob. As a pitcher, I would think that must have been one of the toughest things to do. Not ignore the base runner at first, knowing he might steal, and concentrate on the batter, but certainly you had to be conscious of it.
Well, see, I've always said that when a pitcher worries more about the guy on first than he does the guy at home, then he's in trouble. And when I got a guy on first, I was aware that he might run, but I had to concentrate on the hitter.
Priority went to the hitter.
That's right. Of course, you know, in a situation like this, the the catcher will call a different type of ball game too, because you got a guy on first that can run, and a lot of times he'll start calling a lot of fastballs, which, you know, aggravate you.
Otis has stolen 24 out of 29 this year. The pitch to Brett, right field, Jackson coming in, and that's it for Kansas City. But they break the tie with a double and a single. And as Rudy May walks off the mound, we go to the bottom of the fifth. Kansas City 2, Baltimore 1.
Hey, Pete Rose! What's a man really want from an aftershave? Not fancy perfume. Or fancy bottles. Not fancy prices. No! A man wants to smell like a man. There's something about Aqua Velva. He wants to be cool and refreshed. There's something about Aqua Velva. A man wants to feel like a man. Feel like a man. 'Cause there's something about an Aqua Velva man.
You look like you could use some Gatorade. You look like you could use some Gatorade. You worked up a sweat and you're starting to fade. You look like you could use some Gatorade.
There are many ways to work up a thirst, but one way to really quench it, with Gatorade Thirst Quencher, the one drink scientifically designed to give your body what it's thirsty for.
You look like you could use some. You look like you could use some.